you must be aware that today we are going to talk about a very important ingredient of communication, that is listening, right? We all have heard that listening is something which actually makes communication complete. Because when we are communicating something, there are two participants, there are two stakeholders. One is the person who is sharing information, and another is the person who is receiving that information, right? And listening is that act of receptivity where you're decoding that information that has been shared by the speaker. Right. So today I shall be talking to you about something very important. Again, a lot of things you know, but this would just be a reminder. But why listening is so important is because again I shared it with you earlier also that I practice psychology. So all my work, professional work, is around listening actively and listening empathetically. When my clients come to me, they come with a lot of emotional baggage, right? With a lot of overwhelm, emotional overwhelm. They spend an hour with me. They speak their heart out. They pour their baggage through their words in that conversation, right? And after the end of one session, sometimes, trust me, it is 20-80. 20% I speak, 80% the client speaks, right? And by the end of the session, when I ask them, how are you feeling? 100% of them, they say, we are feeling relieved. We are feeling better. We are feeling lighter. And then I ask them, what do you think is the reason for you feeling lighter? Yes, anybody, what do you think would be the answer? Can you guess the answer? I've already dropped the hint. They have been able to speak. Yes, sharing. They have been able to speak something, and there was somebody who have been receptively listening to them. Switch on your cameras, few people, please. They are convinced that they have been heard. Yes. So remember yesterday I spoke with you that there are three basic human psychological needs: the need to be seen, the need to be heard, and need to be valued. So when we listen to someone, we give that person a message that, you are valuable to us, or whatever you are saying or whatever you are sharing, it means something to me. There's a very old saying. I will say the first half of it, and I would request you to complete it either by unmuting your mics or using the chat box. The saying goes like, the way to a man's heart,
It's,
complete
it's through
the
the
sentence,
it's through the stomach.
goes through the stomach. Correct, right. So see two women answering the question. So So this is a very chauvinistic, I would say, perspective, isn't it? A time, Victorian era, where women were just supposed to cook and, homemakers and stuff like that. I'll not go into that side, but I have reframed this whole sentence, and because I'm a very gender neutral person, right? My sentence or my revision of this is, way to another person's heart goes through your ears. Any relationship, children, spouses, colleagues, subordinates, teacher taught relationship. One simple gift that you can give to someone is investing your attention and investing your time in that particular relationship. And let me tell you, attention is 21st century most prized resource. I think all of you will agree with me. When we were growing up, I'm assuming that a lot of you come from my generation. I'm early 40s. 2 minutes Maggie became popular, and we were very happy that food would be cooked just within 2 minutes. Then Swiggy and everything, 20, 30 years down the line. Now you don't even have to cook that Maggie. You just have to order. And for ordering also, everything is loaded in your mobile. Correct? So quickly, at the press of the button, everything is available. And probably you have heard of this new startup called Blinkit. Have you heard of it? Blinkit?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone?
Yes,
Yes. So they're, ma'am, would you like to tell us what do they do?
ma'am. There are two basically Blinkit and Zepto. Both deliver within 10 minutes. 10 minutes is the latest time, by latest time which they can deliver.
Absolutely. So
Like,
Domino's pizza, 30 minutes. Yeah,
exactly.
please
Like,
continue.
for example, if I'm running short of some spice, even like, you are just cooking and swirling it around, and within 5 minutes, they will knock your door.
Imagine. So I was just wondering that how these boys are placed near our houses. They're just sneaking our needs and somehow they are providing us. So are you understanding what I'm trying to tell you? Attention, time, patience is something that is the most prized resource. And again, look at when we started off with this so-called relationship with technology. We had all the time in the world to go through all the WhatsApp messages, to go through all the videos. Right now, when somebody shares a video with us, we first see the length of the video, and if it is beyond 3 4 minutes, we don't have the patience. We keep on skipping, and from those 30 minutes videos to 5 4 3 2 minutes videos, we have come to 30-second reels. Right. So attention is, this is by Bill Gates, that attention is the most prized resource in the 21st century. So when you listen to someone, you're investing your attention, you're investing your time, and probably that's the best gift that we can give to someone. This Christmas season, this holiday season, again, let's not be consumers and buy products and gifts and give it to each other. Let's be conservers, right? Let's invest time and energy. Shiba ma'am, do you wish to say something? You've raised your hand, probably by mistake. Right. So this holiday season, don't look for gifts. Don't spend money on gifts. Right. Please invest your time uh, with family, with friends, with people, associates, and students, and give them your patience, your lend them your ears, right, and see the difference it would make to your relationship. See the way your bond will strengthen with these people. Really, you would surprise yourself with that, right? So, with this background in mind, I thought it is such an important skill that we all need to work upon, listening skills, and especially the art of empathetic listening. When I say empathetic listening, hmm, there are two things. Okay. First is, when we talk about empathetic listening, it simply means we are being non judgmental. Now, again, coming from the profession that I am, people come, young teenagers, they come to me, ma'am, I have had an abortion at the age of 14. Ma'am, there was incest in my house and I've been raped by my brother or my father repeatedly for so many years, right? Or, the most so-called things happen to people or children or adults they get involved in, which we feel are morally incorrect, or we feel that that is not in sync with my ideology of life. To hell with my ideology, to hell with morality when it comes to empathetic listening, right? The first demand or the first need of empathetic listening is to be non-critical and non-judgmental, which means accepting people the way they are. Okay. Now, imagine a person who comes to a psychologist. COVID has played a very important role in opening up people to the need of seeking help. There is not much of shame, embarrassment, and a sense of taboo attached with it. People are very proud of the fact that they felt an overwhelm and they are very unapologetically seeking psychological help now, right? So imagine when person comes to a psychologist, they have tried a lot of other things. They may have tried talking to a parent, they may have tried talking to a friend, but nothing worked, right? They may have tried using some tools themselves. Now, imagine this person tired of one's own plight and tired of, finding out a solution and seeking help from non-professional people, comes to a psychologist who is a professional and, some dignity attached to the profession and stuff. And he or she shares something which sounds like very undesirable or immoral or shameful or guilt producing or embarrassing. And the psychologist doesn't even budge an eyelid on that and just nods and says, oh, this must have been tough for you, right? And what else? Tell me, would you like to talk more about it? Would you like to share something else about it? Right. So what happens is when a person is sharing something so personal and they have their own kind of evaluations attached to that, and a professional listens to them without judgment, without criticism, right? It gives them a renewed sense of confidence in them that I am not all that bad or irresponsible or something like that a person is assuming myself to be. I'm not all that useless that I was assuming myself to be, because a professional is listening to me and he or she is not criticizing me, not evaluating me, not judging me, rather making me feel heard and valued. And this really uplifts the self esteem of the person in his or her own eyes. They feel worthier. Correct? So, the first prerequisite for empathetic listening or an empathetic worldview is that, we have to drop this baggage of judgments and evaluations and our need for criticism and everything. Another need we have all the time when people share things with us, we always desire to suggest. Try telling somebody that you have a sore throat or, you have cough. So many unsolicited advice. Have this, have that kada, have that concoction, do gargles. My God, as if the person knows nothing about it. Right? So this desire to give suggestions, again, this person who is sharing something with you is overburdened with his or her own problem. Don't don't add to that baggage of that person, right, with your suggestions, with your unsolicited advice. He doesn't need it. He just needs someone to sit quietly by his or her side and patiently listen to what's going on in his or her life and sending some verbal or non-verbal messages. I'm listening, right? Third kind of thing that we feel that we really have this urge when people share things with us is, trying to fix up things for others, right? Immediately, suggestions. Geeta ma'am, there is no need to give suggestion unless someone asks you for it. That I have a sore throat. Can you tell me something? What can I do about it? When people are sick, I give them only one sentence that please tell me if I could do something for you, or I would tell them please do what your doctor has advised you to do. That is it. Right? So unless someone asks for a suggestion, there is no need for us to give a suggestion. I mean, that's a natural, instinctual kind of an urge we have. Aisa kar lo, waisa kar lo, do this, do that. Hold, inhibit, right? That's important because when somebody is telling something to you, let it be all about that other person and not about you. Isn't it? We make it so much about us when people come and tell us things and share things with us. Shh, quiet. I'm happy. This is what, yeah, you said it, Geeta ma'am. This is what the Gen Z wants. You said it. They don't want lamba lamba lectures. No. They just want someone either to listen to them or they just want something to be shared and then one line sentence. I'll come to that. Coincidentally, my son is in Ranthambore. He's gone with a school trip, and when Pramodji told me they're also off to Ranthambore, I said, "Wow, what a serendipity!" So my son left for Ranthambore yesterday. Now that you broached Gen Z in it, I must share it with you. And they are class 10 student, grown-ups, boys and girls together. So I shared I had a 30 seconds to 1 minute conversation with him. I said, my son's name is Atish. I told him, Atish, there is a very peculiar characteristic about an adolescent's mind that I want to share with you now that you would be on your own for next 3, 4 days. And I found out a time when he's excited and all the time and also receptive. So I told him that there is something peculiar about a teen's mind that I want to tell with you and I want to share with you because you will be on your own on a trip for 4 days, and that is teenagers do not realize or they are not able to realize the long-term consequences of their behavior. And since they're not able to realize the long-term consequences, they become impulsive. They experiment with certain things. They indulge in risky behaviors, and sometimes the consequences are so undesirable that they have to regret. So I said, have lot of fun, but please don't go overboard. And just think, anything you are trying, anything you are doing, please pause and think about both short-term and long-term consequences. That is it. ऐसा मत करना, ऐसा मत जाना, ऐसा nothing at all. Right? So coming back to empathetic listening, suggesting and fixing up things for people and all those things, they come so naturally to us, right? So one important thing about empathetic listening is unconditional acceptance and positive regard, that is being non-judgmental, non-critical. And second important thing is our capacity to take someone else's perspective. Now, let's understand one more very essential thing here. There are always two realities. One, the objective reality. Two, our interpretation of that reality. I was late for the session yesterday. You all know it, right? So, those of you who have no contact with me, you could have had formed some assumptions. You could have had your own evaluations of the situation, right? And there was something that happened on the ground that I went through, right? Now, my question to all of you, uh, let's look at Bhagat Singh, right? He did something, and what do we, Saguna ma'am, can you please, Saguna Chaturvedi ji,
Yes, ma'am.
thank
Yes.
you, thank you. Okay,
कैसे करूँ
so yeah. So who is Bhagat Singh for us? Like what do we regard him as or whom do we regard him as? He's a freedom fighter. Thank you, Suresh sir. And what do you think is Bhagat Singh for Britishers? Or was Bhagat Singh for Britishers? Yes, he's a great freedom fighter for us Indians and we revere him. And he's a youth icon, correct? And what he was for Britishers? Terrorist. Thank you so much for that. Yes, enemy, terrorist. Same person, same act of, whatever he did in the assembly, bomb and all. Our perception, interpretation is this, and yes, he's a threat. Threat, correct. Different perspectives. So now, please, let's understand that when a talker, when somebody is sharing something with them, they have a certain perspective. Correct, Parul ma'am. He's a terrorist for them. Right. So when someone is sharing something with us, he or she has a perspective. So we also have a perspective. When it comes to empathetic listening, it's all about looking at the world from someone else's perspective. You must have heard about it. Putting your foot in someone else's shoe and feeling the pinch. Now, let's suppose Again, taking an example from one of the sessions, a case study, a girl, 14-year-old, had a heartbreak, right? Was in love or liked, had infatuation, had a crush in the class. They were girlfriend and boyfriend for some time, but after 6, 8 months, they fell apart and her world ceased post that. It was such a huge hurt for her that, she stopped eating, she stopped studying, even, her grades got compromised and everything happened. And then she came to me and shared it with me. He was my everything, right? And since he's not there in my life, now I don't feel like doing anything. I'm low on energy. I mean, she was actually sinking in depression. Now, for imagine all of us, we are adults and we all have had crushes in our school age, and some of us would have had relationships also, and then we fell apart also, right? So, how a parent generally tackles this is, hey, don't worry, it is part of life, it is growing up, it is part of growing up. Uh, Another 5 years or another 3, 4 months, it will not be important for you. So you will move on. That's very unempathetic way of looking at this particular situation, isn't it? Because at that moment, that incident means everything to the child, right? So same happens with colleagues and subordinates also. Somebody has a crisis in the house and you say, you are in a job, you have to strike a balance between things, correct? So it is our incapacity look at the gravity of the situation from someone else's perspective, right? Again, when you are in a leadership position, when you are in a power position, please give yourself some time, pause, look at the thing from the other person's perspective, see where it hurts. Even, sometimes people are exaggerating things also. I'm not saying that. But the moment you pause and look at certain things from someone else's perspective, you're able to actually gauge the gravity of that situation. And you can actually normalize someone else's thought process also. But for that, very important is first you look at the thing from their vantage point, and then probably have some conversation with them where if they are exaggerating or catastrophizing the situation, you can help them look at it more objectively also. You can do that, but before that, you have to develop that connection. Probably yesterday only, this session only, we talked connections before correction, isn't it? So, if you're able to see things from my perspective while I'm sharing them with you, and you're able to, convince me or kind of make me believe that, yes, I can trust you with my emotions or with my problems, right? You are my safe space. That's what the placard behind me says. I know it is reversed, you can't find out. I'm sitting in my counseling room. So it says, this is your safe space, right? So people come and deposit very safely their apprehensions, fears, emotions without, this fear of being judged, criticized, corrected, without this baggage of suggestions and my perspective, aisa kar lo, vaisa kar lo. So they leave a lot of baggage here. Feel relieved after 1 hour and thank me and move on. Okay, so this is what is basically empathetic listening, right? When you give that kind of a space to someone where they feel safe sharing what they desire to share with you, because they know for sure that, you will understand their perspective. One, you will not judge them for whatever behavior or issue or problem they have come to you with, right? And also, you will not traditionally give them advice and suggestions about whatever problem they have come to you for. Rather, see, try to understand this. When you help someone take off that baggage, they would feel lighter, isn't it? Emotions cloud our minds. I hope you know that emotions really make create a lot of handicap, because they kidnap or they hijack our rational thinking. Correct. Now, when this whole emotional baggage is off, right? their thinking becomes clearer on its own, isn't it? They are able to think for themselves. And that is again very empowering, that you can take your own call, you can decide for yourself, and that gives you the confidence in future also. It builds up your self efficacy also, and it enhances your self worth also, that I could figure out the solution to my problem on my own. Right. So this is the background of empathetic listening. Now let's just see certain mistakes that we make while we are listening to people, and let's find out our own listening style. We have already talked about communication. So when you listen to others um, attentively, it makes them feel good. It also makes for a deeper and more positive connection with others. That's what we just discussed. And you form an understanding, and they will listen to you when it's your turn to speak. Yes, I forgot to mention this. Parents, alert, attentive. Yeah, I seek your attention, and I need your attention. Please read this line again. You form an understanding, and they will listen to you when it's your turn to speak. Normally, we have this problem now, children don't listen to us. So, yesterday also, I shared, probably I had two back to back sessions. I do not know where I talked about it. That children don't listen, they observe, they watch. Correct. Now, when they observe, you listen to them, they automatically imbibe this capacity to listen, because they have felt heard. They understand this basic rule of communication, isn't it? And they understand that this is how communication gets completed, or this is what is effective communication, or they're just mirroring your behavior back to you, because you heard them, you had all the patience with them, you did not give them suggestions, you did not brag about your way of handling problems, right? You made them felt heard, and when you speak, they will listen to you. Poor listening happens often and results in misunderstanding, miscommunication, and somewhere or the other, we have all suffered this. Okay, let's do one activity, friends. Please take out your pens and papers. Okay, I'm going to read out a paragraph to all of you, and there would be certain questions from that paragraph. So, what I will do is uh, I will stop sharing my screen for a little while, right? So that I'm just reading out the paragraph, and then later I will ask you some questions from that paragraph. Yes. Attention, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read a paragraph, and post that there would be some questions that you would answer based upon what you have heard, right? And we will see how good you are, a listener are you. A well-liked college teacher has just completed making up the final examinations and had turned off the lights in the office. Just then, a tall, dark, broad figure appeared and demanded the examination. The professor opened the drawer. Everything in the drawer was picked up, and the individual ran down the corridor. The dean was notified immediately. Okay, so that is what was the paragraph. Now, here are your questions. Okay, nothing right or wrong, it's just a small assessment. Yes, you can just answer the questions yes or no in your notebook, or if you wish, you can unmute yourself and say yes or no. The thief was tall, dark, and broad. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
The
sir.
Yes.
professor, yeah, at the same
Ma'am?
time, please jot it down on the piece of paper also because I'll share the whole thing with you later on. The professor turned off the lights. The tall
No.
figure demanded the examination. The tall figure demanded the examination. The examination was picked up by someone.
Yes, madam.
The examination was picked up by the professor. The tall, dark figure appeared after the professor had turned off the lights in the office. The man who opened the drawer was the professor. The professor ran down the corridor. Just keep writing one, yes, two, no, whatever, or Y or N in your notebook, okay? Just fun sake. The professor ran down the corridor. Ninth, the drawer was never actually opened. And last question,
उनको साफ कैसे बताएं?
in this report, three people are referred to. Yes or no?
देखो किताब किताब में देखो। ले जाओ सर। अच्छा दोबारा मिलाओ कैसे बता देंगे ब्लैक बोर्ड।
Rakesh sir,
हाँ
Jivan sir, ma'am, kindly mute yourself. Okay, so here are the answers. You can check your answers. There were three people. Yes, the dean was also there. Okay, and just find out how actively did you listen to the paragraph. Right. Normally, what happens is this. I'm sure you had paid a lot of attention here. Normally, in our real life circumstances, what happened is that people share things with us. Normally, you know, instead of paying attention to what is being said, we are thinking, what am I going to say after this person finishes? That's where our attention is. And as a result, so many times we lose on some very important bits of verbal and non-verbal information. Okay? All right. Let's move on. If it is 8 to 10 points, you're a very active listener. If it is 5 to 7 points, average, you need to work. And if it is below 5 points, you need to be more attentive, right? You need to consciously practice paying attention to whatever people are saying. Jeevan, ma'am, also, I'm sorry, I can't make out from the name. It's a very general, neutral name. Yes, 8. If you have got 8 points, yes. You are an active listener. Okay, all of you can figure it out. Geeta ma'am also says 8 points. Ankit Gupta ji 8 points. Lovely. So wonderful. Yes, ma'am. Sarju ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question. I don't know how relevant it is. Uh, but like when you say that, for example, when I have evaluated myself, I come to be as an active listener. But when I evaluate, self-evaluate, analyze rather myself, probably right, I'm a good listener. But the moment, for example, this, I'm out of this room or I'm out of this conversation, I'll forget everything. Where should we categorize it?
Ma'am, anything that we listen to is forgotten. 84% of it is forgotten. It is a concept that is documented in psychology, and 84% of what you will listen or what we attend to is gone because it is replaced by the new stuff. That is why I always say keep a notepad and pen handy. And whenever you have time, please go through these notes that you have created. Keep revising. That's how we remember the academic things also, na ma'am? So
Yes, ma'am.
after attention, to retain information over a longer period of time, we need what is called as rehearsal, right? So ensure all of you that if there is something that you desire to remember for a long period of time, rehearse it in whatever way possible. One, two, start practicing it immediately. We get good at what we practice.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So, When we are listening empathetically, we have to have an intention to listen, right? Ask yourself what is your intention before starting that project, going for a meeting, or speaking to someone, right? You can also ask others what is their intention in a similar situation. Knowing your intention will help you to be more conscious of what you are doing and saying, and you will be able to pay more attention to what the other person is also saying, right? Like when you go to your boss's room, dean's room, or your director's or principal's room, you're so clear that you need to pay attention there. And the intention is that I would like to remember whatever the conversation happens, right? So check your intention. And then next thing is obviously speak clearly. I will not say much about that. Be genuine. That's again very, very important, right? Being genuine means speaking honestly, expressing, you know, your true emotions and your thoughts. Though it is more about speaking, let's just come quickly to yes. Emotionally literate listening. This is also something very interesting. I find it very psychoeducating. So, there are different types of listeners, right? Just try to figure out which category would you like to classify yourself into. Number one is called as a logical listener. This person is busy interpreting and analyzing what the speaker is saying so that he will have an appropriate response ready whenever the speaker starts. He is judging the speaker's word and rarely asking about the underlying feelings or emotions attached to the message. So there are people who are constantly judging you, evaluating you, and they will fault find immediately. You mispronounced a word and they'll say, It's not this, it's this." There is some data that you quoted and there is a mistake in that data, they will immediately correct you. Right. So you're not listening to the person. You're constantly judging and evaluating that person, and you're just trying to find faults and correct that person. So it's a one-upmanship game. Unconsciously, you're playing with that particular individual, right? And you're not bothered about how this person is feeling, right? Or what is the intention underneath this particular conversation. Right? So this is called as a logical listener. Now think about it, whether you are one or not. The second one is called as doing one better listener. When the speaker says something, the doing one better listener steals the focus and changes it to his point of view, opinion, story, or facts. Oh, that's nothing. Here's what my day has been like. Isn't it? So you tell them that, my father is unwell. He has had some chest pain. Oh, that is nothing. My father last winter, he had a heart attack. Then you will say, I had a very bad day yesterday. Oh, that is nothing. Let me tell you about my day, my life. This is what we do with our children. Okay, all the time we are bragging about our struggles, how we were when we were students, how much hard work we have done. They are not interested, guys. Please, right? Stop bragging about our lives. I also know we had our share of good time in our childhood, correct? And if at all we did not have it, our children are not to bear that burden. Please, they have nothing to do what went right and what went wrong when we were children, right? Recalibrate there. Third time is a rebuttal maker. Now, this is a kind of a person who just listens long enough to form a rebuttal. He will keep listening to you and then he will come with a point of view which is entirely different from that of yours, right? And he is just wanting to create some dispute. You said this, I don't agree with that. I think you need to correct that. I think your statistics is not right. So, this always wants to make the speaker see his point of view and is quick to dismiss the speaker's point of view. Right. So again, the rebuttal maker is only looking for an opportunity to budge, to barge in and start off rather than having the patience and the intention to listen to someone else. Then we have the advice giver, right? Giving advice is something helpful. However, at other times, this behavior interferes with good listening because it does not allow the speaker to articulate fully their thoughts and feelings. You never heard that other person first. You were so keen on sharing your expertise with that person. Hang on. Just have some patience. That's so, so important, right? So here are different kind of speakers. Just spare a moment and think about it. Which category do you fall in? So there are fakers, they just keep bragging about things that are not even there. There are interrupters. They love to say trivial, bring in trivial things when someone is speaking something very important or sharing something very significant. And the rest of them, logical, one better, this is nothing, rebuttal, and advice giver. Please recognize if you fall in any of these categories, and not just don't just stop there. Monitor your listening habits over the next week. And if you're guilty of using any of these poor listening habits, please tick the box next to it. So you can click a picture of this slide. I'll just make the screen, I'll bring it to full screen so that you can take a picture of this. Okay. And then later on, you can note down all these 6 different kind of ineffective listening habits. And whenever you find yourself showing any of these, just make a tally mark in front of it, right? Being conscious and being aware of our habits, of our specific behaviors, help us overcome those behaviors quickly, right? Because we are acknowledging them and we are taking action around them, right? So these are different types of ineffective listeners. Now, let's come to uh, empathetic listening. Few tips that I wish to share with you when we are listening to someone in an empathetic manner. I told you earlier also, listening non-judgmentally is one of the integral ingredients, key ingredients of empathetic listening. Giving full attention to others, stopping other tasks. So when someone approaches you, you're probably busy doing something. You can either ask them for 5 minutes time when you can wind up what you are doing, right? Just tell them that please allow me to finish this email or to finish this article. Give me just 5-10 minutes and then I'll listen to you. And once you're done with that, put your phone on a side or switch off all the apps in your data in your system that you were working on and give undivided attention to that person, right? So when you give undivided attention, that simply means that your body or is kind of directed towards that person, isn't it? Sometimes your head is also tilted. A tilted head says that I am interested in listening what you are saying, right? Eye contact is also a message that please starts with whatever you wish to share, right? So reorienting your body towards that person, tilting your head towards that person, maintaining an eye contact with that person is something that is an initiative that you are taking in a non-verbal manner that I'm ready to listen to you, right? Now let's suppose you're in middle of something very important and your child comes and he or she wants your attention at that time, right? First of all, figure it out how important or crucial is the task. Can the task wait? If yes, please put the task on the halt for some time, because trust me, nothing is more important than listening to a child who wants to share something with you. Why? Because if you do not listen to their small stuff, they will stop sharing their big stuff with you. Correct? So put that task aside. So many women I see, they're doing something in the kitchen, the child comes and shares something. Turn off the gas, yeah. If it's not an urgency, I'm saying, and I think we're adult enough to figure out how important it is. Go with the child. Pay attention to what he or she is saying, right? If you're doing something which is not urgent or a priority, hold. Put that task on little hold and say, yes, I'm all yours. You want to say something or to share something? I'm there. And if by chance you are in middle of something very important or urgent, probably your boss is online with you and you can't disconnect the call, just put the call on silent or hold for 1 minute and tell your child that I know what you have come to share with me is very important. Please allow me just 4 or 5 minutes. Let me just wind up this call. And if you can wait here, wait, or else I'll come into your room. Tell your child or tell someone who is very important or significant other in your life that nothing is more important to you than that person. However, if in a specific situation it's just not possible, take a moment and express that you need a bit of time, right? Also, avoid scene stealing, advising, interrogating, sending solutions, correcting, and debating. Please. These are like major connection breakers. Fixing up things for others, constantly correcting. You did not say this correctly. This is not how we pronounce it. This is not the spelling for this. This is not how you say it. Come on, where is this need? Where is this constant desire? This is one upmanship. I am better than you, or I am in a power position. Why this need for getting noticed all the time? Right? Let's learn to be patient. Let's give someone little visibility and little window to talk, to share. Right? So, listening non judgmentally is the first thing. Then attempt to identify the underlying feelings. So when people come to you, this is very important, right? If you learn this art, um, you will be the most sought after person wherever you are. Saying this from my personal and professional experience, right? So when you listen to people, by giving them your undivided attention and investing a lot of your time and patience in them, right? When you hear them and you attune them, attune yourself to their emotions, right? So what you need to do is to make them feel heard. You give a one word label to the feeling that the person is experiencing. So my child, I clearly remember class 4. He comes back home, he's seething with anger. And he comes back and tells me, Mummy, I'm going to, break Sayanch's nose and I'm going to sock his face and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I was quite astonished. I was quite surprised that why is he using, this kind of harsh language? You tell me when a child comes home and he says, I'm going to, sock his face. I'm going to break this person's nose in this child in my class. What is our first reaction to that? Let's be honest. What is our first reaction?
We'll ask for the reason.
You ask for the reason. Yes. What happened? Isn't it? What else?
Never try to talk so negative about the person. Let us first find out what is the reason behind the behavior.
So sometimes we even tell him, hey, we don't use such harsh words. Hey, this is not okay to talk like to being so rude, isn't it? Or we say, hey, what happened? Right? These are the ways. So before that, before knowing the reason, this is what you need to tell them. Hey, it seems you're really angry with him. Oh, it sounds that you are very disappointed or you are hurt, right? I can see that you are very disappointed or you're feeling very embarrassed because of whatever you had to go through. Just try to give one word emotional label to whatever this person has shared with you. आपका friend, he's just come out of principal's room or director's room and there was some unpleasantness there. She comes to you, shares something with you, right? I can see that you are so hurt, you know, or I can see that this conversation has been so disappointing with you. Correct? It has caused you so much of disappointment or it has caused you so much of hurt. And normally, you know what we say? Chal koi baat nahi. Are it's okay. You know, he's like that only. You must get used to his temperament. This is how bosses normally behave. See, this is what he does to. Again, you're giving a lot of suggestions. Restrain, please. Just put yourself in this person's shoe. You know, you're full of an emotion because your boss really being was nasty with you. You're sharing it with a friend and she's coming with all these sorts of advice. It's okay. You know, yesterday he did that with me. Come on, this is again one man up ship. Or this is not all mentality. Just listen and add a word, an emotional word to that. And then after doing that, show understanding and connection. Oh, I completely get that. I see. I know how it feels. I did feel that way too. But before saying I know how it feels or I have felt that way, you've already labeled the emotion for the person, right? I know this can be so hurtful, and I understand. And sometimes, you know, when I use these statements, I understand my clients say, no, you don't. You haven't gone through it because, you know, sometimes the traumas are so terrible or the guilt or the shame is so devouring that they will say, no, how can you understand that? You haven't gone through that. So you got to be prepared for all that, isn't it? This comes with little practice. Okay. And then, you know, you need to show interest in that with in that person's whatever he's trying to share with you, helping that person focus, using eye contact, keep nodding, right? And monosyllables like oh, really, helps, right? And then asking questions. Yes, this is also I wanted to broach in the conversation today, that, you know, instead of giving solutions, right? Uh, when it comes to parenting, when it comes to mentoring, when it comes to coaching, right? We are seeing a paradigm shift now from giving solutions to asking questions, right? So this friend comes to you and she's sharing that, you know, yesterday this happened, that happened at my place, and my husband was really rude, or my mother-in-law was really indifferent, right? So you say, oh, that must have been very difficult for you, or that must have been very hurtful for you, right? And or you're listening with complete intent, you're listening with all your verbal and non-verbal clues in place, right? One more way or one added dimension to the concept of empathetic listening is asking questions, right? What bothered you the most? What did you like the most? Like, or what do you dislike the most? I mean, of course, these are not the questions to be asked in the context that I have already shared with you. Like somebody comes and says, I have a lot of cough and I have, so what have you already tried? What did you try so far? Right? Did you consult a doctor? Right? Are you on a medication? Is the kind of questions we ask, and not shooting through our mouth. Ye dawai le lo. See that doctor. This one really worked. This Shira works. This XYZ thing works. No, ask them questions. Right? Your students, let's suppose, haven't finished their work. Ask them a question. What kept you so occupied that you could not find time to complete this assignment? What else was so important that this slipped out of your mind? Isn't it? So let's stop jumping the guns, my dear friends. Right? Let's stop assuming things and let's ask questions for clarification. Correct. Now, when I'm saying assume, Please write the word assume in your notebook. Right? Look at the word. It says to assume is to make an ass of you and me. Isn't it? When you have not really clarified what the other person has said, when you haven't really asked enough questions and you made sense of whatever has been said on your own, there will be some gap in the understanding. So make it a habit that you do not jump the guns, whereas you uh, ask questions for clarification, right? And also allow long pauses before asking questions. Okay. Why pauses? Because if you're constantly asking questions, it will sound or it will feel like interrogation by another individual. So please avoid that. Okay. Now, the importance of listening or empathetic listening, I can make you experience that by simply, think of a situation where you are talking to a friend, or where you're talking to your husband, or you're talking to your boss, or someone significant, even children. Okay, just think of a situation. You're sharing something that happened during the day with a significant other in your life, right? And they are constantly staring their phone, or they are constantly looking at a screen, or they are watching TV, or they are busy in their phones. Think about this situation. You're sharing something very important, or something very emotional, or something very personal with someone, and this someone is either using the mobile, or they are doing something on the laptop, right? Or they are watching TV, or he or she is reading a newspaper. How does it feel? Just think about it and give me the answer. How does it feel? You can unmute and share the answer, or you can put the answer in the chat box. Bad. Yes.
I feel like he is not interested to listen to me.
Correct, Dr. S. Vidya.
They get
Yes.
irritated.
Gita ma'am?
They get irritated.
Yes, you get irritated. You feel extremely irritated, annoyed, right?
Distance becomes more there.
Sorry?
Distance becomes more.
Correct. There is more distance between you and the listener, right? You feel annoyed. You feel that this person is not interested in listening to you. You feel bad. Think of more words. Just put yourself in that situation and empathize with yourself. Give me more words. Give me more. Uh, Add more. Irritated, annoyed, not yes. You feel unimportant. Absolutely, Pradeep ji. Yes, Tanuja ma'am. You feel ignored. You feel as if you don't exist, as if you don't have any value uh, in that person's eye. Correct? This is the importance of listening. This is the importance of maintaining eye contact while we are listening to someone. This is the importance of leaving what you are doing while somebody desires to talk and share with you what is important for them. Just maintaining eye contact and packing up what you were doing, or putting aside what you were doing and orienting yourself towards that person makes all the difference. It really, really strengthens the bond. It doesn't take a penny. All it takes is a conscious effort and little bit of patience. Right? Do you think it is worth trying? Right? So, in this, yes, Geeta ma'am, it's worth it. Right? So, in this ever digital world where We have a lot of contacts in our phone, but very fewer real life connections, right? Where the joint families have been reduced to nuclear families. Yes, Dr. Piyusha Rani, it feels that the other person is unconcerned. Okay? So, in where the distance within the families is also growing, if there was one simple ritual that we can start, or one simple change that we can bring in ourselves, is that, let's start investing consciously some time and energy in the lives of our near and dear ones, right? And we have to not to do much. We just have to listen in a patient manner when people, children, spouses, subordinates, colleagues, they desire to share something with us. As simple as that. No money spent, no investments required, no fancy gifts, nothing at all. Okay. So, yeah, right? Showing interest and asking questions and tilting your head and monosyllabically saying, oh, really, really makes a lot of sense, right? Another important skill, which we all need to learn when it comes to empathetic listening, is clarifying and paraphrasing, particularly the feelings. You know? So somebody came in, shared some long story with you, correct? And there's too much this person is sharing with you, and it is little confusing also, and this is really, so there's something overwhelming also, right? So instead of giving suggestions or solutions, learn to paraphrase what has been said. Correct? So somebody comes and tells you that, my I'm again picking up an example from counseling, that my parents are separating and I'm very scared about what would happen. I have no idea about with whom I would be staying, so on and so forth. Right? So, how do we paraphrase this? That your parents are separating, and I understand that you feel insecure about your future, and also you're very confused about your choice on whom would you want to stay with, isn't it? So, whatever has been said, you replicate that or you say it back to that person, but in your own words. That is called as paraphrasing. When we write answers, also, we don't purge exactly word to word the same thing that is written in the books. We frame the sentences just because we have understood the context and we have understood the concept. So when we paraphrase things for someone, again, the message that we are giving to the other person is, I understood it, or I hope I have understood it the way you have told me to. When my son was young, I've always been working, right? I used to, leave him with certain tasks that, Atish, by the time I come back, please do this, please do that. And so many times, more often than not, either nothing would be completed or one odd thing would be done. So I said that there is some problem in the communication. Right? Now when I go out, he's 16, and raising a boy is very different from raising a girl. Right? So every time I go out and I'm leaving him with some responsibility, I would say, this is what you have to do. Atish, will you tell me, what did you hear? Atish, can you repeat what I said just now? Right. So when he repeats it, okay, I know I have to turn off the gas after 15 minutes, or I know somebody will come and drop something. I have to receive that thing and hand over this money to that person. Right. I'm assured that my message loop is complete and he has heard it clearly in the same, he has heard exactly what I told him, and not that he's assuming certain things and then they will be goof ups later on. Right? So, friends, these are the few things that I wished to share with you. Post